I want to see some cameras. Let's see some faces. It's a beautiful Saturday. I don't want to just be talking to myself, you know. What's good? What's good, everyone? How are you all doing? Amazing, amazing. Let's start off. I want to know, what are you guys grateful for today? Let's drop it in the chat really fast. Let's get some good energy going. Me, I'm grateful for the opportunity to present this call. I'm super grateful for the opportunity to, you know, have another day, have another shot at life, have another day to make myself better. For my dog, for the Divine Snipers, for Trade House family, grateful for your time, my health, Trade House and family, for family, friends, Trade House, for the many opportunities. Grateful to wake up today, absolutely. Grateful for all taking time. No. Grateful to learn from my failures, another chance to learn. Absolutely. Grateful for you. Grateful for Trade House. I'm grateful for every single one of you for being here. Grateful for nature. Grateful I can work out. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm just going to hop right into it because I don't know about y'all, but I am so excited for this call. You know, the name of this call is Your Past Doesn't Define Your Future. And it's called that for a reason. You know, the stories that these girls are about to tell you are so incredible. I mean, I was impacted in a matter of minutes the other day, just getting the chance to hear a little bit about what they were going to touch on. These ladies are so strong. They're so resilient, and stop it. And I'm so excited for you guys to get to hear, you know, a little bit more about them and the value that they're about to drop for you guys. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first speaker. This is someone that I look up to. This is someone that provides not only me, but the other ladies of Trade House with value almost every single day. She is so strong. She is so resilient. She is so incredible. You know, I honestly, I can't even say enough about her. Her story is so powerful. It's so impactful. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please, 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 please help me give a warm welcome for Jenna. Let's drop some numbers. Let's blow up this chat.
Thanks, Michaela. Thanks, everybody. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jenna. I am 24 years old. I have been in the Trade House community for about 6 months now. I've been trading and in this business for about 2 years, so I have a little bit of a history. But we really thought it was a really important topic to touch on because all of us have a past and a lot of us don't really know each other well. So, you know, to kind of hear other people's stories of what they've went through to get to where they are today is really motivating and inspiring for others. And, you know, something that one of us went through that we talk about today, you know, other people might be going through and don't really feel like they have anybody that is going through the same thing. So we just want to let you know that you're not alone, and we hope that our stories can help you in some way or another. So really briefly, it's not something that I love discussing, but I am taking a little bit more of myself out here today to discuss it with you guys because I know it's important to talk about, and I know a lot of people probably struggle with this as well. So when I was about, well, let's start a little bit earlier. My parents got divorced when I was a very young age. I was about 7 years old. My father went to prison when I was about 9 years old for about 3 or 4 years of my life. So I was without a father figure. My mom was always working. My sister and I were left alone a lot of the time with no supervision. It was really difficult time for us. From there, I kind of started diving into substances. I began having an issue. Substance abuse was a big part of my life for about 5 years. I was in and out of rehabs. I was in jail. I was hanging out with gangsters and drug addicts and all these negative, horrible people that a girl like me should have never been involved with, but I just got caught up with the wrong people and, was really just taking my problems out on, with drugs. I really had a really hard time with it. And not only that, my sister, while I was going through this, my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, she actually had to have open heart surgery. She almost died. She was given a 10% chance of living. She had an infection that went through every organ of her body. So actually, while I was actually in a rehabilitation center, I had gotten a call that my sister was going into emergency surgery and that she might not make it. And I couldn't be there. So this was a really traumatic time for me. It really didn't help my situation whatsoever. But, she made it out alive, thank God. And I got out of rehab. I was doing well, but I was still stuck in a really negative mindset. I've lost a lot of friends to substance abuse. And I was still in a self-destructive path because although I was not doing the drugs anymore, I was still really, really hard on myself. Negative talk, still kind of not really doing things I should have been doing. I was depressed. I wasn't really going to school. I wasn't really doing the things I should have been doing. But fast forward, now I don't struggle with that anymore. And I really have to dedicate all of that to no one else but myself. I got myself out of this. It's not an easy thing for people to come out of this. A lot of people don't live when they're going through a struggle like this. Most people end up dead or in an institution like jails or other places like that. And God had other plans for me. So I'm really blessed and grateful. Now I have graduated college. I help raise my 2-year-old niece. I am doing things that my past mind told me I never would do. No one except me got me to where I am. And that's kind of what I really want to touch on, that, you can do whatever you tell yourself you can do it. Our mind is the most powerful asset that we have. And whether you're struggling with drug addiction or some other traumatic experience, you have the power to get yourself out of it. You have no one to blame for any of your problems but yourself, and you have no one else to get you out of those problems. You are in charge of your life. You are in charge of your mind. Dwelling on traumatic experiences and criticisms and self-doubt will only bring you down. Positive affirmations, positive reinforcements. That's really what got me to where I am today. A lot of people have to go to all these different things to try and help them stay clean and all these things. But I really dedicate my sobriety to positive reinforcement, just going to the gym, move a muscle, change a thought. And it really circles back to any type of trauma, not just drug abuse. If you're dealing with anxiety or any other type of mental illness or any problem, really, if you just change a muscle, move a thought, you can really go from such a negative part of your mind to such a positive one. A lot of people tell me they can't even imagine that I was ever even doing that. And it's because I don't let my negative experiences influence my day-to-day and influence my future ultimately. When you believe in what you tell yourself, that shows. So this is why we really try to hammer home in trading and in this business mindset. Mindset is the only thing that got me out of my destruction, and mindset is the only thing that's going to help us progress in this business. I actually heard Cassius say the other day on a call, our thoughts and emotions on a day-to-day basis affect our trading. And not only does it affect our trading, but our thoughts and emotions on a day-to-day basis affect our life. If we tell ourselves that we are not good enough, that we're never gonna get out of this, whatever situation you're in, you're not. But if you tell yourself that you are better, that you can do this, that you have a future, that you, no matter, you might not know how you're going to get there yet, but you are going to get there yet, then you will. That's why the most wealthiest people in the world and all the people that we, watch on YouTube, all these motivational speakers, they speak about affirmations. They tell us to talk positively to ourselves. They do that for a reason. It's because it works. I write my affirmations every day, as I know a lot of you do. It really truly will change your mindset for your entire day if you just talk to yourself nicely. If you tell yourself that you're better, you're confident, you can do this, that you are going to make it in this business, and forget about the business, that you are going to make it in life. I really, I know my struggle and everything has brought me to bad places, but my struggle has also brought me to really amazing places that I never thought I would be here, sitting here today. And I always wanted to help people, and I know that my struggle and my story will help people. And that's why I love this business too, because we're in a business where we help people, no matter what that looks like. It might not just necessarily be with trading. It might be with somebody hears my story and they're struggling and they think that they don't have what it takes to excel in this business. Well, listen, you can and you will. And I'm here for anybody who's struggling. I will help you as best as I can. I hope my story really tried to have it resonate with you guys, because it's not just about my personal struggle, but I know there's other people that are dealing with other things, abuse, just there's so many different things that you could be struggling with. And I really hope that I could help some of you today, and just know that your past doesn't define your future. Thank you so much, guys, for giving me this opportunity. I really just want to thank you, because it wasn't an easy thing for me to discuss, and it was really helpful for me to get this kind of off my chest, and I hope I could have helped any one of you. But I am going to pass it on to a lovely lady who really helped me. I mean, she didn't know me from a hole in the wall, and she really believed in me. She believed in every single one of us. She is one of the most amazing girls we have on this team, and she's a rock star. So if we could just give it up to Kat, amazing, amazing woman. Drop some numbers for Kat.
Thank you, Jenna. Your story is motivating. It's inspiring. It just makes me want to get up and just work even harder. And good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you are. And I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day. I just want to start off by expressing my gratitude once again, just thanking you for taking the time out of your day to be here and to listen to our stories. And I just want to thank my girls, Jenna, Christy, who's about to speak, Michaela, and Blessing. These girls have taken the time out of the day. They put a lot of work into these calls to share their stories and, to inspire you and to motivate you, because, at the end of the day, all of our stories have a message. There is a lesson. It's going to teach each and every one of us something. But then when you listen to it, you're going to walk away with something. And I think stories are like one of the biggest ways to change the world, right? Because we all have gone through something. We all are going through something, right? And you can't tell me you're not, or else you're pretty much dead, right? And So everything that you've been through, everything that we're going through is going to ultimately lead up to your destiny. Whether you believe it or not, whatever that word may be for you, it's our destiny. There's going to be an end goal, whatever that may look like, whatever that may feel like, whatever that might smell or taste like to you, it's going to be different. But everything that we're going through is going to lead up to our destiny. And I think a lot of you have heard, part of my story, part of my journey closer to when I started Trade House, but a lot of people don't really know about my upbringing, like how I really was brought up, and there's only a few people that really know about this, and my accountability partners and then my mentors, but that's pretty much it. And kind of similar to Jenna, right? My parents got divorced when I was 5, right? And I was supposed to have co-parents, go back and forth, but my mom just kind of picked up and left. So my dad was our prime caregiver. He was my mother and my father at the exact same time for me and my 2 other sisters, right? And he was taking care of us, working 2 jobs, and he does have a disability, right? So the way that our feet are structured, the way that it's flat, he was actually born missing a few bones. So if you were to take both of your hands, put them together like this, that's how his feet is. It's a ball. So imagine working 2 jobs with something like that, working 2 jobs where you're on your feet all the time. You can imagine how much pain he would be in, right? And then secondly, he couldn't wear shoes that we do. So he would have to spend thousands of dollars every 2 or 3 years to create new shoes, literally just to fit the structure of his foot so he can just walk, so he can just work, right? And he was doing that. He raised us, we went back and forth between homes, between schools. We moved around a lot because we couldn't really afford to be in one place. We were missing payments, right? We were too young to get jobs. My grandmother really supported us, and she was kind of the only motherly figure, the only female in our life, right? And before I continue though, I want to see some cameras. I feel like I'm talking to brick walls. And this is my story I'm talking about. This is her story that Jenna's talking about. Okay? Understand that, sharing our stories can be difficult. And when you talk to your parents, when you talk to your friends, when you talk to your spouse, you don't talk to a brick wall. So let's show some faces. Let's show some respect. Not to me, not just to me, but to the other girls presenting as well, right? So like I said, he does have a disability. He was working 2 jobs, and we were moving back and forth between different houses, different schools, and stuff like that. And we eventually just gave up, and we just lived with my grandmother for full time. She took care of us. She took us to school, right? Both of my parents, they graduated with high school diplomas, so they weren't very literate. So we had to guide our ways through school. That's why I fell in love with reading. That's why I fell in love with education. That's why I fell in love with personal development. And one of my cousins came from South America, and he was 13 at the time, and he got into, the wrong crowd. He started doing drugs. He started, smoking. He started shoplifting. There was a bunch of times where we had to take him to court. We would have to bail him out and stuff like that. And when I was 9, and when my younger sister was 7, he sexually assaulted us, okay? And we kept this a secret for a pretty long time, a couple of months before, when I found out that my younger sister, not for myself, I really didn't care about myself, but when I found out my younger sister was assaulted, then I couldn't do it anymore. So I told my parents, and because of that, she ultimately, I'm crying because it's my sister, and she ultimately got depression and anxiety from it, right? And I'm sorry. She ultimately got sick from it, and because my grandmother was the only woman really in our life, I really took on the role when my mother left, right? Because my younger sister and I are literally just a couple months apart. So you can imagine she literally looks exactly like me, like literally to the T. People think that we came out of the womb at the exact same time, right? So she's my sister, she's my best friend. So when I found out that this happened to her, like, it tore me apart. But it wasn't me that I was worried about, it was her. And you can imagine when you go through something like this when you're 7, she was 7 at the time, you can imagine the trauma that really gives you, right? And she went on with this, and she had depression and anxiety for such a long time, and she started to identify with it. She starts to identify with her depression. You know, when people start telling you you're shy, you're very quiet, or you're loud, you're obnoxious. You know, when people put characteristics on you, you start identifying yourself with it. So that's what she started doing. So she fell into the trap of depression, anxiety even more. And, you know, as her older sister, as her mother per se, people started to put the same identities on me. They start to say that I was depressed, that, you know, I was withdrawing, I was doing like hurtful things to myself. So you can imagine I started to say the exact same thing to myself. So I started identifying with these negative characteristics, right? These negative personality traits, right? And that ultimately left, you know, continuing through high school. And most of you know what happened when I was in high school. I talked about my regrets, where I need to stop crying. Right? And I was going through high school. I was able to get 2 scholarships, but there was a girl actually who was in the same grade as my younger sister, and she used to talk the most shit about her, right? And you can imagine my sister, my baby sister, and as like her caregiver, I was pissed. My sister would run away a couple of times. She would go off with older men and stuff. We wouldn't know where she was for weeks on ends. She was actually on the news. You know, she was on the missing child's report on the websites and stuff. And this girl was really just talking a whole bunch of smack about her, not just, you know, in school, but also on social media. And I literally to this day have screenshots of her saying, why isn't I'm not going to say my younger sister's name, but why is so and so not dead? This biatch should be dead. She doesn't deserve to live. So you can imagine what that did to me. It just made me even more angry, just made me even more frustrated. So as you all know, I was at a competition, the competition that would have gotten me to my dream school, either one of my dream schools. I would have gotten it right then and there, and I did get both of them. But literally, I punched her right before they told me that I got accepted, and they found out before I found out, and I lost it, right? And that spiraled into other things into my life, right? It ultimately got me, I just thought I didn't deserve anything. Everything that I went through, it was like my life was done. I lost everything. My sister's, you know, in a dark hole. I didn't really see the light at the end of the tunnel per se. I didn't see the butterfly coming out of the cocoon or the snake shedding its skin. I didn't see that anymore. I lost that hope. So ultimately, I still wanted to go to school. I still wanted to become a social worker. So I worked my ass off. The day that I punched her, I dropped out of high school, but I worked my ass off a couple months later. I went to school from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., and then I would work from 4 p.m. all the way to 3 a.m., travel home, study, and then I did that for months on end until I racked up enough. I reapplied, got into school, and then I started going to school. But during the time that I was doing all that, I also got into a very toxic relationship, per se, that lasted about 3 years. And I wanted to get out 6 months in, but that's what I thought I deserved, right? And I think most of us get into, you know, it doesn't have to be romantic relationships, but friendship relationships and family relationships as well, that we know we should get out of as well. But we think that's what we deserve. We think that's all that we know, and that's all that there is. And ultimately, I was in it for 3 years, and to this, you know, most people would say, Kat, do you regret it? I say no, I'm grateful for it. Regardless of all the physical and the mental pain and emotional pain, everything that I've been through, I'm grateful for it. Because coming out of all of that, coming out of helping my sister out of depression, coming out of my own depression, realizing that that's not my identity, realizing that I don't deserve toxic love, coming out of all of that made me realize that the biggest thing that I lacked from the age of 5 to when I was about 19 was self-love. So do I regret it? No. Do I identify with my past? Absolutely not. When we say your past doesn't define you, I think I should add something extra to that. Your past doesn't define you if you don't let it to. It's not going to define you if you don't let it. But if you attach yourself to the stuff that happened in your previous life, not previous life, but in your previous history, in your previous chapters, then it will define you. Because when you attach yourself, when you attach your identity to things that aren't you. My toxic relationship wasn't me. My depression wasn't me. Yes, it was happening to me, but it wasn't me. Right? Everything that was going on wasn't me. It was just different aspects of life happening. But when you identify with it, then you start to believe that's who you are. Your identity is not stagnant. You can change it. And I changed my identity. My girls know about it. I tell them all the time, January 1st was the day that I literally changed my life. I don't know what went over me. I don't know what happened, but the moment the clock struck midnight, everything changed. I left that toxic relationship, and 3 days later, I signed up with Trade House Canada. Right? So your identity is not stagnant. Your identity is not the past. You can absolutely change that, because understand your identity is your personality, and your personality is your personal reality. And if you want to change your reality, so change your personality. And you can do that in a matter of a second. Just say, I am not my depression. I am not my toxic relationships. I'm not my mother if you don't want to be like your mother. I'm not my father if you don't want to be like your father. I'm not my brother if I don't want to be like my brother. I'm not my sister if I don't want to be like my sister. I'm not my teachers if you don't want to be like your teachers. I'm not the government if you don't want to be like the government. You're not who you, if you just say it, that's it. That's all you have to do. You can change your entire life by changing identity. Most of us think that we can't change our identity. Maybe you can't change the color of your skin, or maybe the color of your eyes, or the way you look, but you can change everything else. You have absolute control, and that's the biggest lesson that I learned from all of it. Do I regret everything that goes on, the sexual assault, the relationships, punching the girl? Absolutely not, because it led me here today. It led me to Michaela. It led me to Blessing. It led me to Adele. It led me to Shanice. It led me to Siva, to Cassius, to RJ, and now Christy and Jenna. Right? I wouldn't be here without it. So does my past define me? No, because I didn't let it. So change your personality, change your identity. Our stories, the previous chapters that we have, are just to look upon, just to remember the lessons. Remember when you read that book, your favorite book, the beginning of the chapter, and then when you get to the middle, you kind of forget the beginning a little bit, but you do remember the lesson that it taught you, the beginning, that hook. You remember that hook. Every good book has a hook. I know, trust me. Every good book has a good hook. And then when you get to the ending, you're just like, wow, that was a damn good book. That's how I view my life. Yeah, there may be parts, there may be choppy parts, there may be some pages torn out of my book, there may be some pages that I put some X's through, there may be some pages I spilled some food on, but it was a damn good book. And there's still more chapters to come. So if you don't want your past to define your future, if you don't want to write, more chapters, more stories, more words about your past, then stop it. Because your past is just your past. If you condition yourself to think in your past, that's how you're going to feel. Most of us have conditioned ourselves to think and feel in the past. But your past is just your past. There's a now, 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 there's a now. Sorry, this might take a while. There's a now, there's a now, there's a now, there's a now, there's a now. There's an eternal now. Not a past, there is a future, but there's not really a future. It's just now, 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 now. So why are you living in the past? Self-love is the biggest thing. Living in the now was the biggest thing. Those were my lessons. So I don't regret my past. I love my past. It made me who I am. It led me to the people that I am, and it led me to where I'm going. So my past doesn't define my future. It doesn't define me, but does yours? With that being said, thank you for each and every one of you. This recording is not going up because I cried. This recording is not going up. Okay? But with that being said, I just want to thank each and every one of you. Before I pass it on, turn some cameras on. Turn some more cameras on. Okay? The next speaker that I'm passing it off to, I can't believe I just met her. I literally cannot believe I just met her. Like, I truly wished that I did before, but honestly, the universe has, different plans, and I'm grateful to have met her, at this time of my life. And just hearing her story when we were talking before, it moved us all to tears. And to see the big, beautiful smile on her face, like, she absolutely deserves that smile. And like, her smile just makes me smile. Like, and she's just a whole mood. That's how I sum her up. Like, just a whole mood. It's just absolutely amazing. And I'm beyond grateful to have met her. And I just want to continue our friendship and our sisterhood. And I'm going to pass it on. I'm going to sit back and relax and unmute myself and just pass it off to Christy. So take it away, beautiful.
Thank you so much, Kat, and just thank you for sharing your story, and thank you to you, Jenna, as well. You both are so incredible, and I am just so grateful to have met you both. Hey everyone, my name's Christy. I'm 24 years old. I've been with Trade House Canada for about a month now. Thank you all for being on this call, for listening to us, and just giving us the opportunity to share our story. I'm just absolutely so grateful. So to give a bit about my story, when I was 13, I was diagnosed with epilepsy after having several seizures. Throughout my teenage years, my health gradually declined. I was having anywhere from 7 to 10 seizures a day. I was prescribed a lot of heavy medication, doctor after doctor, test after test. They just couldn't determine what exactly was triggering my seizures. I spent a lot of time alone in my room. I was just exhausted from all the medication, exhausted from all the seizures. I was terrified to leave my house. My friends were to be just terrified to be around me. It was just this constant, well, what if I leave the house and I cross the road and have a seizure? What if I walk down the stairs and have a seizure? It was what if, what if, what if? I was just living in this constant state of fear. I couldn't drive. I missed so much school. I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. I was just absolutely so lost in my life. A couple years later, when I was 15, my mom became very sick. It was just like any typical Saturday night. I was sitting in my living room watching TV with my parents. My mom began to say that she couldn't feel her legs, that she had no movement in her body. As she was speaking, her words were slurring. The left side of her face began to droop. My dad thought that she was having a stroke, so he rushed her to the hospital. We were informed that she actually wasn't having a stroke, but having stroke-like symptoms. They didn't know what was going on with her. They didn't know what was causing it, and she ended up staying in the hospital for a year and a half from that night on. I didn't have my mom at home for almost 2 years of my life, and it was just one of the hardest couple years of my life. For 6 of those months, my mom went completely blind, absolutely had no vision. She had no movement in her body and was pretty much paralyzed from the neck down. My little brother was only 4 at that time because my dad was working so much and looking after my mom in the hospital. I had to stay home and pretty much raise my younger brother. That Christmas Eve, that same year that my mom got sick, my dad lost his job day before Christmas, literally Christmas Eve night. So money became very tight for us. We didn't know how we were going to pay the bills. We didn't have a lot of food, and it just came down to the point where I would go to bed hungry some nights just so that my little brother could eat. I was just so absolutely lost in my life. Things went downward from there. At one point, my mom was actually diagnosed with brain cancer. I remember I was looking after my little brother, and my dad came home, and he said that our mom would be taken for surgery and that we needed to prepare to say goodbye to her, as there would be only a 50% survival rate. We went to the hospital and said goodbye to her mom. Actually, as she was being taken to surgery, a doctor had stopped the surgeon that was taking her and said that she actually had multiple sclerosis and not brain surgery. Because of that doctor, they were able to properly treat her. My mom is thriving now. She is doing amazing, and I'm just so proud of her. But things still went downward from there. After all that, when I was 19, I had a seizure that lasted 4 hours. I was put into a medical-induced coma for 14 days. My parents were given two options, that they could either pull the plug and take me off life support, or that I would wake up and be a vegetable. My parents, knowing that I wouldn't want that quality of life, and knowing that I wouldn't want my little brother knowing me that way and growing up seeing me that way. Sorry, guys. They decided to pull the plug. And the day that they were actually going to take me off life support, I woke up. And I woke up like nothing happened. The doctor said it was a mystery, and I said it's a fucking miracle. I woke up like nothing had ever happened. I was talking normal. My brain scans came back normal. It was just like I took a very long nap and had just woken up. That was a huge turning point in my life, not necessarily in a good way. I became very angry, very bitter. I just couldn't understand why this was happening to me, why for the past, 6 years of my life, it was just all these constant downward spirals of my health, of watching my mom go what she went through, of watching my dad, of just watching my family be torn apart. I couldn't understand. A few months after that happened, my older brother was diagnosed with stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And that's when I absolutely lost it. I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I didn't want to be here. And I was so angry at God and at the world and just at everyone for everything that happened to me and to my family. So it just got to the point where I was just ready to give up. I didn't care anymore. So I planned out how I was gonna end my life. I wrote all these letters to my family. I just couldn't handle it anymore. I just thought there was no point to living. I was spending all my time just sitting around smoking pot all day, watching The Office on an endless loop because I really didn't care. Sorry guys, 3 years ago, that all changed. I met my amazing partner, Logan, and that's when I really saw the light at the end of the tunnel. He stuck through me thick and thin. He never left my side. He was there every time I had a seizure, and he really just pulled me out of this dark hole that I thought I would never be able to get out of. And I tell him all the time, he's my guardian angel, God, the universe, whoever's out there sent him for a reason. And he was just by me through everything. And there was one point where he said to me, what if you just told yourself that you're fine? Talk yourself out of having a seizure. Tell yourself you're okay. And at first I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't have control over my mind. I don't have control over my body. Like, I can't do that. And he said, just do it. Just tell yourself that you're okay. I thought he was weird, but I tried it anyways. And that's when things really took a shift for me. The next time that I felt a seizure coming on, I closed my eyes and I told myself, I said, I am okay. I am healthy. I am present. I am in control of my mind. I am in control of my body. And from there on, I went from having 10 seizures a day to 5 a day to 1 a day to twice a week to a couple times a month. I've been seizure free for 2 years now. I've been cleared from my license. I am working. I am completely healthy. I have been removed from that title of having epilepsy. I am just thriving out here. I'm living my best life. And not only did the way I was thinking and the affirmations I was saying to myself, and when I changed my mindset, it had a ripple effect across my family. My mom changed, my dad changed, my brothers changed. My brother is clear from cancer now. My mom is moving around. She has her own business. My dad is thriving. My family is just doing absolutely incredible. And guys, it doesn't matter where you came from. It doesn't matter what happened in your past, the choices you made. None of that matters now. What matters is now is where you are now, what you're doing now. And like the other girl said, your past doesn't define you. You know, whatever mistakes, whatever happened in your past, you have to forgive yourself. You have to love yourself and understand that what you had to do in that moment to survive is okay, because you are here now. And it's just incredible, guys, and life is incredible. And I am just so grateful for every one of you. And thank you so much for listening to my story. I'm so thankful to have had this opportunity. Enough said, enough about me now. I'm going to pass the call off here to an amazing, incredible, powerful woman who I've only known for a short time. And I'm so thankful and so grateful and just so honored to be able to call her my friend. And I'm so excited to get her to know her more. Thank you so much, guys. Please show some love, drop some numbers for Bless.
You guys hear me? All right. Drop some sevens for, honestly, drop every number that you have for all the ladies that spoke tonight. Every single number. I want to see every single number. Thank you, Michaela, for opening up. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Christy. You guys need to understand this is so much more than just trading. It's not even about trading.
Can I say something for a sec?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I feel like I was in church. I was just like, yes. And I feel like a lot of people have the cameras off because they're shedding some tears because.
You know, I almost turned off my camera because I could feel myself getting emotional. But then I remembered that this is why we're doing this call. We're a family. So if you turn off your camera, your camera's not on right now, understand that you need to show respect to the individuals that just shared their stories. I want to see your faces.
Showing emotion is strength.
Yes, thank you. Listen to Jenna. There's a reason why she was hosting this call. We all have a story. We all have things that we've been through. And you know, I used to say that every experience that has happened, everything that we've been through has formed us into the person that we are, but that's not true. It's not the experience, it's not the obstacle that formed you into the person that you are. It's the decision that you made as a response to that experience. How did you respond to that obstacle? You know, a lot of people like to say that we had struggles, you know, just like Kat, I did my due diligence and I went and looked at the definitions. What is the definition of struggle? It's when you're constantly making efforts to free yourself from restraint or from constriction, constantly. So when you're using the word struggle, a lot of people say, I'm struggling, I'm going through this, I'm this. You're not going to get out of it if you're constantly using the word struggling. You're limiting yourself. And I used to use this word as well. Kat and I used to say, who has had struggles? We used to use that word, but then with the community that we've surrounded ourselves with, we learned the importance of knowing the right words to use. So instead of struggle, use the word obstacle. What is the definition of obstacle? You guys, I'm not joking. I literally went and searched up the definition. Obstacle is a thing that blocks one's way or prevents or hinders progress. It is not going to be there forever. It is only there momentarily. But if you constantly ignore it or you constantly accept it by using the word struggle, you're going to be there longer. It is only hindering your progress. It is not stopping it. You are the one that's stopping it. So again, you are not your experience, are not your obstacle. You are not the word struggle. Those are things that have happened to you. Those are things that you went through. It is not you. Don't identify yourself as the event, as the experience. But at the same time, understand that everybody goes through something, so you're not alone. You know, these ladies, thank you again for sharing, because it's not easy to sit in front of 35 people and share what you've been through. And I know that a lot of you can relate to what you heard today. Some of you may be going through some of the things that they've mentioned today. Now it's up to you. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to allow that experience? Are you going to allow that obstacle to stop you? Are you going to quit because it's hard temporarily? Understand, when you're quitting on yourself. You're not quitting on anybody else but yourself. So are you going to let that obstacle stop you, or are you going to use that as motivation, as inspiration to keep going? Because you know it's not just about you. Kat, you said you want to share something?
I know this is something you said, and this is something a lot of people think, that life is happening to us, but life is not happening to us. It's just happening. You're just observing life. You're just an observer at the end of the day. Nothing is directly happening to you. Whether you take that and take it, personalize it, then it's happening to you. But if you just let it be, let the world be, it's not happening to you. It's just an experience at the end of the day. So whether you want to personalize it and take everything as, you know, something negative or something positive, it's all really up to you at the end of the day. But life is just happening. Nothing's happening to you. I just wanted to say that. That's actually something that I've just learned. So,
And I quickly wanted to say too, you know, God doesn't give us things or put us through struggles that we cannot handle. We're given every obstacle and every struggle for a reason. It's because he knows that we can get through it, that we're strong enough to deal with it. So that's just another thing I wanted to mention, because that's gotten me through a lot of bad times too.
And that's so important, because again, it's you, it's your decisions, it's your thoughts. If you want to get through it, you can. You just have to tell yourself. You have to be your biggest hype man. You have to be your biggest cheerleader, because anybody can come around and say, oh, Kat, you can get through it. Christy, you'll get through it. Michaela, you'll get through it. Jenna, you'll get through it. But if you don't believe it, it doesn't matter what anybody tells you. The same way if people say negative things about you, it'll only affect you if you accept it. What did Kat say? People said, oh, you were depressed. It only affected her when she accepted it. So don't allow what people say around you in a negative way to affect you. You need to know your purpose. You need to know that there's so much more out there for you, and what you're going through is only temporary. As long as you know that you can overcome it, you will. You may not know the answers. You may attempt multiple different ways to get through it, but it's all a lesson at the end of the day. We don't fail and just sit down there, no. Every lesson is getting you closer and closer and closer to that goal. So don't stop. I appreciate every single one of you for hopping onto this call. I understand it wasn't a training call. This was the stories of your family. These are my sisters. These are your sisters. Trade House is a community. It's a family. It's not just a trade team. People who don't stay or don't join, they don't understand the amount of love we have for each other. And with that being said, understand that if you ever feel like you're alone, you can reach out to any single person in this call. Not just the leader, not just myself, anybody you see here. Make sure you guys follow each other. Make sure you guys reach out to each other. You never know what someone's going through. A quick message, a quick smile can change someone's day. So always stay positive. And before I end this call, we do have the Thrive documentary, part 2, that came out. Part 2. Now, shout out to Adele. She did make Vargas hold off on streaming it, but this call is done. It is starting just now. So hop onto Discord, hit that link, and we're having a family movie night. Highly, 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 highly recommend every single one of you to be there. So thank you again for joining us on this call. Make sure you guys follow Divine Snipers Instagram at THCA Divine Snipers for more calls like this. And I appreciate and love every single one of you. Have an amazing and abundant day.